stands and falls by leadership. I've tried to be liberal about it. I've tried to be revolutionary about it. I've tried to be, you know what, if you don't have proper leadership, your organization, your company, your municipality, your government will fall apart.
Yes.
So what excites me is the opportunity to be able to come alongside of a leader and strengthen that person, to be the best leader he or she can be.
Wonderful.
That's what excites me.
Yeah. Today I'm with Dr. Ruben Richards, author, reconciliation practitioner, former executive secretary of the TRC Human Rights Variation Committee, founding deputy general of the Scorpions, very interesting chapter in your life, I guess, and executive deputy mayor of Cedarburg. He's known for turning failing municipalities around with a resident-led compact rule of law discipline and weekly public dashboards, what he calls the 4% method. We'll unpack how communities can feel change within 90 days. Thank you, Ruben, for joining us, Dr. Ruben Richards. It's a pleasure to have you here and starting our African Speaker Bureau interview series that we like to present to future possible clients, prospects, and the world.
Well, thank you very much. I look forward to this engagement with you. And well done on the initiative.
Yeah, I'm looking forward as well. What would you like to say to our audience as a starter?
What can I say to the audience? I would like to say to the audience that I am a firm believer that God uses ordinary people to do extraordinary things. I feel that I've done a number of what I would consider extraordinary things, but I'm no extraordinary guy. I'm just an ordinary person, an ordinary vessel that's available to do what needs to be done to create a better society.
Wonderful. I became to know you over the years quite well in different engagements and all the time with different positions. And it was always outstanding what you can achieve and what you have achieved, but what more possibilities are opening up in the field for you if you really engage with corporates, with the public, with municipalities, with government. Are you actually still the executive deputy mayor? I'm a little bit confused.
I was the executive mayor of the Cedarburg municipality. I recently resigned my position as executive mayor, and I was asked then to take up the position of deputy mayor.
Okay.
So that's been the shift.
Okay.
So I'm still in the leadership team, but I've taken on a different role, and that role is to coach and mentor our younger generation. Mm-hmm. I like to think of myself as young, but as you can tell from my hairstyle, I'm not that young.
Don't get yes.
So my commitment is to coach and mentor our younger leaders. So we have a speaker of the council and an executive mayor of the council who are both in their mid-30s. I think we're the only municipality that has such young leaders. And they're from different political parties. And I get the privilege of guiding them and coaching them. An elder to them, I suppose.
This is exactly quite a thread through your life that you always trained the next generation. If I remember what you shared about the Scorpions, that you set up from day zero, so to say, without any playbook, without any instruction from anyone, that you empowered the 50 young people from universities, as far as I remember, to become the next generation of the Scorpions.
That is correct, yeah. I tend to work myself out of a job, it looks like it. Yeah.
Well, there's so much need in leadership. And for me, the succession planning is always the most important thing that many leaders forget. They are sticking there to their positions and sit there on the chair until they are way over.
Yeah, the succession planning is a delicate and sensitive process.
Yes.
Because it presupposes that you're willing to step aside to make place for the next person to succeed you. So that's the easy part, I suppose. The difficult part is when you've got to train the person to succeed you. And then the question is, how much do you give? How much do you withhold? Do you really want the person to succeed and to succeed you? So those are personal ego type issues which are real, and one has to confront it very honestly. But that is what I'm currently doing and trying to do, and I seem to have done over the past few decades, even though I wasn't retirement material. But yeah, it's about creating the space to grow capacity, particularly among the younger generation, if I may be ageist for a moment. And I do it gladly and happily because someone else did it for me. I didn't just fall out of the sky. Someone else invested in me and took the risk to trust me, to coach me, to teach me, and I've decided to do the same for the next person.
I remember that you also shared with me before you started the Scorpions that you were training our police force, becoming now from protecting the state to protecting the citizens. I think it was 135,000 at this time.
That is correct, yes. Yeah.
So training plays a big role in your life.
Training and educating is kind of a DNA I've discovered of who I am. I do it almost by default. It's very tricky because people don't always want to be taught. Don't come and tell me what to do and how to do it. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't mean it like that. But it is part of who I have become, yeah. It's just, we call it training and development, but it's just educating people to understand that life is too short to learn everything.
I remember also when you said you are grateful for the people who coached and trained you, that you were personally mentored by the Chief of Scotland Yard at this time.
Yes, that was part of my journey. I was the beneficiary of what we call executive leadership and guidance, but on a very personal basis. Chief of Scotland Yard was asked to mentor me. I said, wow, how's that for a gift? And so, yes, he took a personal interest and put me through my paces, gave me the books to read. I had to give feedback on work that I've done, and in that way, he coached me. What inspired and impressed me and inspired me at the time, he was an older gentleman, but he had himself just finished an executive leadership update or upgrade kind of program. And he was, 5 years from retirement then? And he just gave me that whole course that he had just done. He says, I'm going to put you through the same thing. And he had been on a course that was an international course facilitated through the FBI. And so all the chiefs of police around the world were part of, not all the chiefs, but I mean, that was the caliber of person that was drawn into this 18-month kind of program. I thought, you're staring at retirement and you're still undergoing training. I thought, wow, he says, man, there's too much to learn. And that's really inspiring.
How old was this gentleman at this time?
He was 60.
Okay.
Yeah, he was 60 years old, which was old in my book at the time.
Don't say this.
let's just say that.
We just over that line.
That's like 20 odd years ago. Yeah.
When you put the program for the Scorpions training together, how did you decide how to train them?
All training programs, in my view, must be informed by a needs analysis. Because you don't train for training's sake. You say, what is the need? What's the challenge? What's the problem? To which this training is a solution. And so in the context of the Scorpions, we had just transitioned from apartheid and an oppressive society to an open democratic society in which the rule of law needed to be firmly established. The police at the time had a huge cloud hanging over it because of their complicity with the apartheid state. And so something new, something fresh was needed, at the very least, to engender a respect for the rule of law. But then we focused it quite sharply to say we're not the alternative to the police. The police has to fix itself in a sense, but what was needed in the country at the time was to ensure that our economy was not overrun by organized crime, syndicates, and so on. And so the Scorpions as a unit then focused on the upper 5% of organized crime that was besieging the country. So it's a long answer to a simple question. You start with your needs analysis. What is needed? When I headed up what we call the police academy, the big challenge then was literacy. Can you believe it? 53% of the police were functionally illiterate. So what was needed was an ability for a police officer to be able to take a statement, because a statement, properly oathed, properly taken, is the basis of any investigation. Now, if you can't take a proper statement, then don't go any further. So that became a focus. So that was the needs analysis. Contrast that with the recruitment criteria we used when we set up the Scorpions. We said, your basic entry requirement is a university degree. We're not even talking about the literacy here. We assume literacy. But we wanted to assume something else, which was subject speciality. So we recruited someone with a business science degree, with a law degree, with a computer science degree, so that we did not have to teach them the trade, because that's what we're buying. That's what we're recruiting. We then align your education and skills within this new framework, which we call crime busting.
Yeah.
So that was what was unique about it.
Wow. Okay. Good. How do you think the knowledge and experience of your lifelong work, training others, mentoring others, building successors, helping other managers as well to succeed? I know that you played a role as a CEO in some companies and had larger teams to run. What do you think is a unique angle that you could bring into any organization?
I have been very blessed to have worked my way up from the factory floor. So I come into leadership from the ground up. So my first job after school, for example, was working in a clothing factory. I always ask myself, what has that got to do with the fact that I'm a visiting professor at the university? You know, it's like, well, it has everything to do with it. One, it's about don't forget where you come from, you know, and be humble about it. And number two, it creates a pathway, a journey, so people can see, well, and as my wife always says, listen, man, if Ruben can do it, then anybody can do it. But I think probably more importantly, if I use different language, I bring a level of groundedness to leadership. So it's not a theoretical academic exercise. I've come through the ranks. I've grown, I've developed, I continue to grow and develop. You get a lot of things wrong. There's a lot of things in my personality and my upbringing which needed to be shaped and what is the word I'm looking for? The English word, polished, or you know, because I come from a very rough background. I grew up with gangsters. Doesn't sound like it, but get me going in another language, and then you will soon discover, but yeah, we all come from a past, and we need to embrace that past. But for me, the past that I come from has enabled me to see the world in a very grounded, practical kind of way. And that's what I bring to all my discussions. I've just had a discussion earlier today with some attorneys, and they're educated in the law, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm the guy to say, okay, so what does that mean when we implement it on the ground? She says, oh, okay. Oh, okay. I said, yes, you got to get practical about these things. And I seem to be wired to be able to think. That's kind of my default drive. So yes, I can philosophize, I can abstract, I can think in philosophical terms and formulate my thoughts. But I also know what it means to implement it on the ground.
That's a very interesting point that you're making here as well.
Let me give you an example of the distance between what I call policy and implementation. Because I think this is the proverbial challenge, particularly at governmental levels, but in private sector organizations as well. So you have your policy, and if you want to use other words for policy, you can say you have your vision and mission and all of those nice words. And then you've got to say, how does that translate on the ground? What does it mean in reality? So, when I was in the Scorpions, one of the things we said, we want to be loved by the people. Now, what people?
I remember, loved by the people,
feared by the criminals,
respected
by your peers. That's correct.
Yeah.
So why would people love you? Well, because we're doing the right thing. But more than that, we're creating a sense of safety and so on, Feared by the criminals, of course, you must fear us because we do things right. And if we do come knocking on your door, you're in trouble. You don't want us to be knocking on your door.
Yeah.
And your peers must say, wow, no, these guys, they do their homework. They're not fly-by-night kind of chaps. So that was the vision. Now, I had to translate that. I had to create a squad that would reflect those elements of the vision. And by God's grace, myself together with a team of people managed to do it. So that the country, even the country recognized, oops, whoa, okay, we know who these people are.
I think there's very often a mismatch between academic understanding and practical implementation, so that really what is easy to draft as a policy or as a program of learning or of teaching can really be implemented and actually work successfully.
The tension between thought and action is an ongoing tension. I've been an academic, and in that world, people pride themselves in the more abstract they are, the more intellectual they are. I said, really? In my book, the more irrelevant you are, you end up talking to yourself. I would think that the function and the purpose of higher education is to be able to understand the complexities, but then to be able to communicate it so that everybody understands. My first philosophy professor always used to tell us, we can study Aristotle and Plato and all the Greek philosophers and all of that. Now, we are going to do it in this course, but the challenge is go home and explain it to your mother.
Yes. Yeah.
And if your mother gets it, then you've done well.
That's what very often I've learned as well. I think this is the basic. If you can't teach it to somebody else, you're not ready to learn it. So we have to really be able to teach it. Only then we're getting it. If we can explain it to others, then we finally understood how it is.
When it comes to the tension between theory and and practice. I've been told, taught, advised that the best way to know something is to teach it.
Yes.
The best way to learn something is to teach it.
Yes.
In other words, explaining it and teaching it to the next person, because that's how you learn more about what it is that you are supposedly knowing. And when it comes to theoretical matters, I think it's pretty straightforward. When it comes to practical matters, now I'm a tradesman, I'm a blue-collar tradesman. I work with my hands. My wife always tells a friend she hasn't met a person that was more in love with a dead piece of metal than her husband. Because you give me a piece of metal and then I shape it according to the engineering specifications, and what was a dead piece of metal is now a useful either part of an engine or whatever we're building.
Yes.
And you almost worship this piece of metal. But now, the point I want to make is, you can explain all you want to somebody about how that comes about until they physically do it themselves, and you help them and do it. And that's really the trick, teaching them and giving them an opportunity to do it themselves.
You have a very unique mind and skill set. You've merged the engineering mindset with the philosophical academic mindset, as well as with the trainer's mindset.
Yeah, that would seem to be what has happened to me. Yeah.
You mentioned that the TRC, this is the Truth and Reconciliation Committee, that started in the 1995, midwife our democracy. 25 years on, the child is in the ICU, our local government. What saves the patient within 90 days?
Sure. Shock treatment.
Seriously?
Yeah, it depends what's wrong with the patient, Just take the medical analogy. If this thing is lifeless, you need some shock treatment just to get the heart going again.
Yeah.
So that it's pumping. And once it's pumping, you can say, okay, what next? Because there's stabilization that needs to happen. So shock first, to shock it back to life. Hopefully, a patient doesn't need it, but sometimes they do, because the heart just stands still. But now that it's breathing, I've described our municipality when I became the mayor. I would explain to the residents, to the citizens, that this patient is called the Cedarburg Municipality, is in the ICU. In other words, it's still in hospital, but it's in the high care or intensive care ward. And it is on life support. And as we progress, I would then keep the citizens, I'd use the analogy and keep the citizens updated. And I would say, I'm happy to report that the patient is stable and is no longer on life support.
Yes.
I said, okay. And then the next is you're going to move them out of the intensive care unit into the general ward, and hopefully out of the general ward back into society. In other words, you're going to monitor the progress. Now, what does that mean in the context of a municipality, for example? I inherited a bankrupt municipality. And so we needed to pay attention to the funding sources. Why did we go bankrupt? And so forth. So what I'm saying in different words is that before you come up with solutions, you need to first understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
And I had an expression that guided us, and it says, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So I'll stay with the medical analogy. So if you go to a doctor and the doctor simply prescribes medicine for you without checking what's wrong with you, you've got a problem. So you've got to check the vitals first. And what you thought as the patient was the problem may not be the problem. You're going to get the expert to tell you, actually, let me use a different analogy. My brother-in-law is a dentist, you know. You shouldn't have a brother-in-law as a dentist. I always tease him. You say, I must all meet another person who gives people pain and get paid for it, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the issue of deferred pain is something that is well known in the dental field. So this tooth, you think the pain is here, but it's actually somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it takes an expert that asks you to open up, quite literally, and poke and prod and test and see and say, oh, it's not that tooth, it's that one.
Yes.
And that invariably is what needs to happen, and people don't take kindly to it. Because everybody's an expert. You can't tell me. I'm telling you it's this tooth, doctor. No, it's not.
So this is very interesting, going back also to the engineering mindset. So you need to understand what of the mechanical parts is no longer working and needs to be replaced. And so really coming from the dentist analogy is going back to the root.
Pardon the pun, absolutely.
Yes.
Interesting, I used to, when I was in the Tooth Commission with the Archbishop Desmond Tutu, we used to have these backwards and forwards because he knew I was not a career management kind of guy. And neither was he. I mean, I can talk about it, but he's not with us anymore, but I can poke a little bit of fun. And
he would poke fun of himself as well. Yes.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah. You mustn't take yourself too seriously.
Yes.
But that's right. So I would say to him, and I would say to the commissioners and those people around me, I said, listen, people, I understand the world in very practical terms.
Yeah.
And because I've got a blue-collar mindset, you please forgive me for my analogies. But if you take an engine, you know, where it says oil, you know, you got to put oil in. And where it says fuel, you put fuel in, you know. Now, with all the love in the world, if it says oil, then I suggest you put oil in there. You may choose to put water in there, but then you're gonna face the consequences.
Yes.
So there's a logic, and there's now my engineering mindset. There's a systems logic that must govern how you do things. And if it says oil, the designer made it such that oil must go in there.
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with not liking you. Follow the program.
Yeah.
You know? I said, no, I'm going to put in water. Well, okay, fine.
Okay. 3 signatures: mayor, municipality manager, community, and the public dashboard. Can this really turn around the town?
My short answer is yes. You cannot turn around a town if you don't have a competent municipal manager. You don't have a mayor who's the political head. Or let me rephrase it. The structure in any municipal system is that the mayor is the sort of political head, kind of the mini president of the town or of the area. Your executive arm, your implementation arm, is the municipal manager, with his or her team of people that will implement the basic services. And then the third part of this triangle is the community. And the community, the needs of the community must be in sync with what the municipality is trying to do, and in sync with the, if you will, the mayoral head. Now, the document that pulls all of that together is the IDP, the Integrated Development Plan, because it's, you know, you may want a swimming pool for the community. That part of the community wants a sewage plant. That part of the community needs speed bumps or whatever the case may be. And because we are in a participative democracy, we participate with each other. And so this entity, that the municipal entity is supposed to deliver the services to meet the needs of people out there. And there's been a big disconnect between those things. It does become challenging because what you want as a citizen and what the system needs may be two completely different things. Let me illustrate it. The average person, let's call it informal settlements now. The average informal settlement type person, or a person who lives in a shack or so, or even a person that doesn't live in a shack but doesn't have a flush toilet, a running toilet. That's what they would love. Nothing wrong with that. But if you don't have a sewage plant that can process the wastewater, then you're going to have to just wait a little bit for your toilet until we have the ability to process it. And it's that balancing act that is required and that we have to communicate.
So how do you translate this then into the need of the corporate? How do you feel your angle, what you could do, to support municipalities in a turnaround, which is worldwide needed, and also in the corporate sector? How would your experience bring benefits to the organizations?
In the corporate sector, meaning the private sector,
yes,
private sector companies are, in the main, driven by profit. Right? We're in business to be profitable. There's nothing wrong with profit. So don't misunderstand me. So the driver, the energy in a corporate must be to be able to convince their customers who are paying clients of their services or products to continue buying and in greater measure. So that's your basic equation. In the municipal government sector, it's the same thing. So you need to get into the mindset of the person who's paying the bills.
Yes.
And find out what it is that they need and want.
Yes.
And then you adjust your offering to suit that particular clientele.
Okay, yes.
You position yourself in the market, if you want to talk private sector language.
Yes.
So that's a discipline which the corporate sector has to maintain. Because if you don't, you're going to lose market share. Some other competitor's going to come along and make an offering to people who would ordinarily have been your clients. And they just go and buy services there or buy products there. And soon you'll discover that you're out of business.
Yeah. And how do you translate this into leadership in the private sector?
Leadership, I always draw a distinction between leaders and managers.
Yes.
Leaders provide a sense of direction, values, and managers program the implementation of the vision. So management language is budgets, performance indicators, the feedback reports. That's manager language. Leader language is: are we on track? Are we achieving our goal? It's kind of the forward-looking, eagle-eye, visionary.
What do you feel is very often missing in municipalities and in the private sector?
What's the biggest challenge in the municipal environment? My answer to that is there's a complete misunderstanding of what a municipality is supposed to be. Just 2 weeks ago, we had this very robust debate internally. Some people feel that the municipality is like a charity, Mother Teresa type organization. Shame, we need to help the poor and this and that. I said, ladies and gentlemen, have you read the legislation? The legislation describes the municipality, if you will, as a business that sells services to the citizens who in turn pay. Electricity is not free. Water is not free. Sewage processing is not free. You've got to pay for these services, and that's how municipalities are funded. That's enshrined in law. In practice and in emotion and in political ideology, it's a whole different issue.
Yeah.
We're even offering jobs, promising jobs. It's like, where does that come from? So that's in the sort of public sector space. The private sector is no different, except that the motivation, unlike in the municipality, you don't do it for purposes of creating profit. In the private sector, that's what drives you.
Mm.
That's why you're in business. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, of course.
So one of the big challenges, I think, in both corporate and in the public sector, is that there's a gap between the visionary leader and the person that must implement it on the ground. There's a disconnect.
Yes.
And that disconnect, or that missing middle, I like to call the managerial leader. So the leader who leads by managing well.
Yes, love it.
And it's a delicate balance.
Mm.
But until that vacuum is properly filled, you're going to have to play these two roles. So that's what I've ended up doing. It's invariably if you will, the pioneering kind of person, entrepreneur, if you will, never been done before, and you're getting there and you do it from a visionary point of view, but then the practical reality is to follow.
If a mayor would call you on Monday, what are the first 5 actions in the first 10 days?
Sure. First thing to do really is call your top team together. Remember, I'm not asking for positional. Say, who are the people that you're going to depend on to implement? Because that's the heartbeat of what you do. It doesn't matter in what area. So, because it's all about people. So that's the first thing. The second is, what are the top 5 challenges that you've been facing in this municipality? Now, I say it very carefully because people's worldview is informed and dominated by their immediate problems.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that if you fix that problem, you fixed the cause. You might just be fixing the symptom, but you must start somewhere. So what we did was, remember, back to my Scorpion days, follow the money.
Yes.
So give me your financial statements, or tell me, where are you bleeding? Maybe he doesn't even know he's bleeding.
Mm.
So if your finances are okay, then the next is, okay, what are your citizens complaining about? Is it sewage? Is it potholes? Is it electricity? Is it infrastructure? Is it people urinating in the streets? Is it illegal shops on the street corners? There's a plethora of issues that could be plaguing you, and each circumstance will be different. I've been in the rural areas, and the challenges in a rural area is very different from the challenges in an urban setting.
Yes.
One example would be, in the rural areas, you pump for water. You don't have big dams that you can go to.
Yeah.
So the logic tells you better make sure that your pumps are working, that the pipes are not leaking, and so on.
Okay. What will the leadership team have in hand after a day with you?
After a day with me? Oh, they're going to be on heart medication. Look, I would hope that after a day with me, that you feel inspired. Number 2, that you begin to believe that you have it within you to be able to do it.
Okay.
So the self-confidence is an important part of the puzzle. And 3, that you begin to approach your problems or your problem-solving methodology changes.
Yes. Yeah.
You asked me after a day. That's about it. After a week, hopefully, there'll be a few more things.
Yeah.
But the key issue is a sense of self-belief.
Yes.
It's possible. And that becomes an inspirational type thing. And then the way of thinking is important.
Let's go one step further. Keynote versus masterclass versus 90-day pilot. What does each deliver?
Keynote sets the tone and a vision for where you want to go. Masterclass trains your inner circle of what we would, let's call them MLs, managerial leaders, the people that must deliver on this thing, the project. And the 90-day plan has to do with the broader organization, as well as, if you will, your customers, if you're private sector, or your citizens, if you're in the government sector.
Okay.
You've got to find a way to communicate and make sure that you're all on the same page. But it starts with, let's get the vision right, let's get your inner core team right, your masterclass, and then massify. That's probably the word we want to use.
Exactly. Yeah. How do you prefer to work a room? Facilitation, dialogue, or tough Q&A?
My preference is facilitation.
Okay.
I've learned the skills to manage a room, if you will, and I can be very engaging and challenging in a facilitation setting. And the key to it is to provide safety for your participants, so that they don't feel that you're blasting them against the wall. A kind of a lecture, keynote, speech approach is a very top-down, I'm telling you what to do and the kind of stuff,
Yes.
as opposed to take people on a journey.
Yes.
Take them on a journey. We all at different places, but here's the but. Climb onto this bus.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you on a journey.
Yes.
The but is, can we trust the driver?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
So, how would you sum up your promise to an audience in one sentence? Or one line?
Climb onto my bus. I'm a reliable driver.
Wow. Love it. Ruben, why should people listen to you?
Because my wife does not.
Okay. In the public and municipality environment.
Jay, why should people listen to anybody? Because they have a need, and I have an experience to share. Those two things have to meet each other. At another level, why should people listen to me? Because I believe I have a story to tell that could be empowering, that could be inspiring, and a story that says, you know what? Change is possible. Improvement is possible.
Yes.
Miracles are possible. When I was a young tradesman, I saw this expression and it stayed with me. I repeat it in some of my books. I say, the impossible we do immediately. Miracles take a bit longer.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've done the TRC, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. You've done the Scorpions. You've done city rescues. Why should a global audience trust this method now?
I've been blessed to have a foot in the public government sector at the highest levels of leadership, as well as in the private sector, running, if you will, the largest engineering company in the Southern Hemisphere. That should say something.
Yes.
And I put those two things together. I'm able to put it together. Life has given me that wonderful opportunity. And if I can share that with people, I think they will find it useful and valuable.
Yes. Wonderful, yeah, yeah. And what will participants learn from you? Give us a framework, 1, 2, or 3 frameworks that they can take home.
What they will learn from me is tenacity. Just don't give up. It's easy to say, trust me. So that's the first thing. The second is don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah. But probably the most important is don't believe what other people tell you about yourself.
Okay, wonderful. I love it. Yeah. This brings me directly into the point of the benefits for the individual. What changes for a single leader on Monday morning after he met?
I would hope the first thing would be a bit of humility. Leadership, by definition, is the opposite to humility, you know, because you're giving direction, you're pushing, but it's a quiet sense of confidence and depth of emotion that ultimately anchors a leader.
Wonderful.
And so beyond the noise and screaming of instructions and so on, just that quiet, confident you is what you need to find.
Get the job done.
To get the job done.
Managerial leader again.
Yeah.
So what would the organization benefit from your intervention, your support, your keynotes, your 90-day programs, your boardroom consulting?
Jay, I tend to use a agricultural image to describe my work when it comes to benefits. And it's a simple thing. You know a tree by the fruit that it bears.
Yeah.
So if you planted an apple tree and you get peaches, then you've got a problem.
Yes.
Yeah. So the hope is that the kind of investment that you're making in your personal life will have such an outworking that the people around you will say, "Wow, there's a different person.
Yeah.
I can follow that person."
Wow, nice.
Yeah. But that takes hard work.
Absolutely.
That takes hard work. It doesn't happen overnight.
What would you be most excited about in delivering to the private sector and to the public sector?
I didn't think I would say this, but I agree. Everything in life stands and falls by leadership. I've tried to be liberal about it. I've tried to be revolutionary about it. I've tried to be, you know what, if you don't have proper leadership, your organization, your company, your municipality, your government will fall apart.
Yes.
So what excites me is the opportunity to be able to come alongside of a leader and strengthen that person, to be the best leader he or she can be.
Wonderful.
That's what excites me.
Yeah. How do you see your next 5 years unfold?
With a little more air. No?
I've given up on this.
As I would like to see myself as a resource person, a go-to person. I'm very blessed. My children seem to lead by example, where they are coming to me for guidance and advice. My daughter, for example, is writing a master's thesis, so she sent me a message this morning. She said, "Dad, can I book you for the 13th? I need you to give me feedback on my draft, my first draft."
Yeah.
But wow, that's nice. And it's that kind of engagement. So she's not shy, she's not scared. Yes, she's vulnerable, but she knows academically I can assist her because that's one of the skills that I have. And so the same with leaders. Let me come. I'm a resource.
Yeah.
I'll come alongside of you, and you need a safe, trusted space.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
Where do you see you would have the greatest impact? Boardroom advisory, running workshops, training, in-house successes?
If I had a magic wand, then I would like to work with the leadership team. So, they have a CEO, finance person. There's normally the trilogy,
Yeah.
Your human resource person, your people person, your money person, and your vision person, right? Those three. But those three can't get the job done without an executive team, your departmental team. That's where I would like to function. I'm not your mass movement kind of guy. I suppose I could do it because I used to be pastor of a church, But for impact, remember, if you are the head of a department of 1,000 people, then it's pointless me trying to influence the 1,000 people. I must influence you because you influence 1,000 people. It's exactly the methodology I used when I worked with the criminal gangs. I made the deliberate decision that I'm not going to try and save this little gangster boy down below here. I need to get to the boss that's giving him the instructions.
Yes.
Because that's where the maximum impact is.
Yes.
Because invariably, if the leader gives an instruction, the followers follow.
Absolutely.
So that would be where I'd like to locate myself.
Wonderful. Dr. Ruben Richards, it was wonderful to meet you. It was very inspiring, and I love to talk to you, and I think we will do this again and again and again, because there's so much that you have to offer and so much that you've acknowledged, you've collected as wisdom and experiences. Thank you so much for the time you gave us today.
No, thank you. It's my pleasure, and I hope that your audience will find some usefulness in what we had to say today.
Thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
Thank you.